and for the state of Texas. If you do not know the Texas pledge, it is written on your front of your program. Michael, will you lead us, please?
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America,
to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Please, Texas flag.
Honor the Texas
Flag.
pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Yep.
Moving on to item number 2, roll call. Michael?
Here.
Stacy?
Here.
Melody?
Here.
Jason?
Here. Here.
Tommy, are you on?
Tommy was not able to make the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Corey? Corey? Emil?
I am here.
Glad to have you with us, sir. And Veronica had something come up this morning. She will not be attending. We do have 5 people in attendance, 6 people in attendance, so we will have a quorum today. Moving on to item number 3, meeting minutes from August 16th, 2023 meeting. Any public comment on that? I'll make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes published online.
So move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting minutes are approved. Item number 4, we have a presentation. We're going to have a refresher on the Open Meetings Act and the Public Information Act. Bob Beard is going to educate us a little bit on this, just as a refresher.
Who's working?
No.
You have me up there?
Morning, everyone. I'm Bob Beard, General Counsel. It's been a while since I've seen some of you in person, but it's good to be here. I think when the BAC was reconstituted in 2018, we had an opening session where I think we went over these issues, but it's been, gosh, 5 years now. So Trace thought that I think had a good idea that maybe we should have a little refresher on these issues and how they apply to this committee. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Open Meetings Act, and then I'm going to turn it over to our special counsel and our public information coordinator, it's Deanne Rinstra and Liz Godfrey-Whiting, and they will talk to you about the Public Information Act, because my presentation is going to be pretty short, and I think it'll be a little obvious to you why when I get started here. That's bear with me just a moment. So the Open Meetings Act was first adopted back in the 1970s after some incidents that happened in state government, that some major decisions concerning issuing a certificate for a bank, had occurred outside of the public process. And if y'all may have heard of the Sharpstown scandal, that was what initiated a whole series of open government laws, including the Open Meetings Act and the Public Information Act. And put very succinctly, the Open Meetings Act requires all meetings of a governmental body to be open to the public. And the policy of requiring open meetings to be open is so that the public has the opportunity to be present and see how decisions made by the government are being made. The Open Meetings Act applies to a governmental body, and a governmental body is one that controls or has supervisory authority over public business or policy. And basically, that means a body that has final decision-making authority. Bingo Advisory Committee is not a governmental body. under the Open Meetings Act because it does not control or supervise public business or policy. The BAC is purely advisory. It exists to advise the commission on charitable bingo matters. The Lottery Commission is the governmental body. Now, some advisory committees are subject to the Open Meetings Act by statute, but this is not one of them. And the BAC is provided for in the Bingo Enabling Act. And there's also a separate statute that talks about, in the Texas laws, that talks about advisory committees generally. And so, but what this committee does is consistent with that statute and the commission's rule, which they have adopted, that governs your activities. Now, there's one caveat about open meetings and advisory committees that I do want you to be aware of, and that is what is referred to in several attorney general opinions as rubber stamping. There have been occasions where a board simply rubber stamps whatever comes before them from an advisory committee without any discussion or independent review. And we try hard to avoid this. And I think you can see that this is one of the reasons why we have a designated bingo commissioner, Cindy Fields, heavily involved with the BAC, as well as the bingo director, LaDonna Castanuela, Tyler Vance, Assistant General Counsel, who's on my staff, who works closely with you on really all the items that come before you and are available to you as you need assistance. They're here to vet your ideas and to get a staff perspective on the feasibility of potential rule changes and other action items for the commission and the bingo division. As you know, the Lottery Commission Board looks to the bingo commissioner and to the staff before acting on recommendations from the BAC. So we have a substantial involvement of the Lottery Commission staff and the bingo commissioner in their deliberations. And to my knowledge, there's never been an issue regarding the commission's independent judgment when making bingo-related decisions. But we all need to be mindful that the BAC is a purely advisory committee and that the commission does not simply rubber stamp BAC recommendations. Now, that's ultimately going to be a fact issue of what the governing board, the Lottery Commission, does with their recommendations. But I don't anticipate this to be an issue with the BAC and the Lottery Commission, but it's something that I think we all need to be mindful of. Now, even though the BAC is not a governmental body subject to the Open Meetings Act, the Commission has adopted a rule governing the BAC, and it borrows some concepts from the Open Meetings Act. Under the rule that the Commission has adopted, the BAC is required to post notice of these meetings 10 days in advance. And that's longer than the Open Meetings Act requires for governmental bodies to meet. That's 7 full days. But your notices just go on the agency's website, whereas a governmental body must post their notice in the Texas Register for the public. But people who are interested in the BAC can look on the Commission's website and see the agendas for the next Commission meeting. And, you know, I think as a practical matter, the agendas help the committee members and the staff and the folks out here who advise the BAC, independently, and to help them prepare for the next meeting so that all these meetings are productive. The BAC also must keep minutes of its meetings, and Commission staff assist with that through a service that transcribes all these discussions. And after these meetings, we get a transcript and we look at it and make corrections as necessary. And all of those transcripts are available. They're posted on the Commission's website. Now, the fact that the BAC is not a governmental body means that you all can get together outside of these meetings and talk about BAC matters, talk about bingo matters without concern. Any number. And 2 of you can talk. This is 4 or 5 of you, a quorum of you can get together and talk, and it's not a legal problem. It's not an open meetings problem. And because you're not a governmental body, we can also have this sort of an easier a way of bringing you all together by having some of you here, some of you may be joining by teams. I know occasionally you've had people call in. For a governmental body, there's some very strict technical requirements that have to be met for a governmental body like the Lottery Commission to do that. But fortunately, you are not subject to those restrictions. So it's made it a lot easier for, I think, for this BAC to meet, especially over the last 3-4 years once the pandemic got started. So that didn't seem to impede your deliberations at all. So that was good. That's really all I have to say about the Open Meetings Act. And if y'all have any questions, I'll be happy to try to field them. And if not, I will turn it over to Deanne and Liz to talk about the public information. Liz, you go.
Any questions?
Yeah, questions.
We certainly appreciate that. Thank you very much. We certainly appreciate that. Thank you very much. Just before y'all start your presentation really quick, we really want to say thank you to the commissioners and especially to Commissioner Fields for taking the time out of their busy schedules to listen to us, and for the staff for being here. I've said this before and I'll say it again. The atmosphere here is 100,000 times better than it has been in prior years. And we're certainly grateful for that. It does not go unnoticed. So y'all definitely deserve a pat on the back for all of that. We appreciate what you do.
Thank you very much.
Right. I just want to let you know that Corey has joined us. Corey Harris is on.
Okay. Corey's on. Excellent.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, you ma'am.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Elizabeth Godfrey Whiteegg. I'm the Public Information Coordinator for the Texas Lottery. Thank you. That'll look good on camera. I have been in the public information field for almost 16 years, just shy of 6 years with the Lottery Commission. I work in legal with Deanne and our folks there. And I'm just going to quickly go over our Texas Public Information Act, in the same vein as the Open Meetings Act. So charge stand schedule 1973. So let's talk about public information. Okay. So the Public Information Act is also known as the Open Records Act. It gives the public the right to request access to government information. There is a presumption that the information we gather is and belongs to the people that govern us. Right? The government code is chapter 552, and it lays out all of our procedures and exceptions and the law part of what we go through. So what is public information? Public information is information that is collected, assembled, maintained under the law or ordinance in connection with the transaction of official business of a governmental body. So our day-to-day information that we use to do our business is something that's subject to the Public Information Act, which is where an individual can come in and request to see that information. This is anything and everything. So examples of are things like electronic documents, emails, microfilm, your handwritten notes, and in the course of business, sound recordings, text messages. The recording of this meeting is subject to the act. So who's subject? It's going to be very similar to the Open Meetings Act, where it is an entity that is receiving public funds to do business. School districts, cities, the counties, us. So those folks are subject to the act. So there are only really two rules about public information. Is the number one, it has to be in writing. The information, get a request over the phone, can you submit that to us in writing? It keeps everybody understands what we're doing, what they're requesting. There's no confusion. It's a protection for the citizen or the public, and it's a protection for us. So we know exactly what they're looking for. The second is the request must ask for information that is already in existence. So we don't create information. Let's say this individual wants something, I want the meeting agenda from 2 weeks from now. Well, that doesn't exist yet. So that we're not going to have anything responsive for that request. And then there's a customer service space where this agenda will be available in 2 weeks. Please re-request. You can go ahead. So when we receive a public information request, we're obligated to relate the request to the information that we hold. So I'm working with the public every day. They're not going to use the same language that we use. So I try to assist them with interpreting. You want a winner's list. Okay, well, you can find a winner's list here. So we just have to relate to what we have. And we do have the ability to go back to them and say, can you clarify? We must act under good faith to relate any questions we receive, because we don't answer questions through the public information request process. And if I get a question, I will send that over to our customer service department. We do not ask why they want the information, what they're going to do with it. We are not allowed to ask. It's none of our business. And again, we can ask to narrow or clarify large, broad requests, and occasionally we get those. So to continue, we can charge reasonable time and for time fees for time and copies. We have to treat all requesters equally, which means I don't put a media request in front of another request. I don't put his request in front of it's in order in which they're received. We have to release the information promptly. So promptly is promptly. And if it's sitting on your desk and it takes 10 days, like, you're going to get a phone call from me. Can I have that, please? So we must reply promptly unless there's an exception to the information that they've requested under the law. So promptly release information responsive to requests within a reasonable amount of time. The 5 business days is an internal deadline. It's the amount of time that our staff has to collect the documents and get them back to legal for review. The 10 business day is a deadline within the Public Information Act that we have to respond back to the requester by either, here's your information, we need additional time, here's your cost estimate, we need a clarification. We also must request a decision from the Office of the Attorney General on that 10th business day. And then the 15th business day, we submit the documents and arguments to the Office of the Attorney General for a decision on that, if the information that's been requested can be released or not based on the exceptions. More deadlines. Y'all know deadlines. We don't count holidays, skeleton crew days, bad weather days, anywhere where our offices are closed. That's pretty typical for us, which is nice. Exceptions, if we receive a request after hours, it rolls into the next business day. If we receive a request during the weekend, it rolls to the next business day, et cetera. So we do charge for our time under the Public Information Act. We adopted the section which allows us to establish the 36 hours of staff time per requester per fiscal year. It's been very interesting to transition to that. It's going well. And then all the fees, the copies, the staff time, the programming, the different kind, like if we needed to run a CD, is all laid out by the Office of Attorney General in the Public Information Handbook. So 10 cents a page, $15 an hour for staff time, et cetera. If we're pursuing a cost estimate though, we tell staff, please don't gather documents. You can't charge for a cost estimate if you gather your documents first. So we're always in communication with our staff, in communication with our requesters, and we keep the ball rolling. So violations for the Public Information Act, there are criminal and civil penalties. The willful destruction, mutilation, removal without permission, or alteration of a public record is punishable by confinement in a county jail, 6 months, fine of $1,000 or both. I don't want to go to jail, so I will come find those documents. And of course, we're all that ties into records retention. So we make sure we follow our retention guidelines, make sure we're not removing documents or manipulating. I've never seen in my time, very short time in open records, anybody see the penalties for the violation. Just for our staff, so you have agency staff are those individuals. We have a liaison in each division, and they receive the requests from me. They will go out and gather the documents from agency staff. The liaison will then take those documents, provide them back to me, along with the 36-hour staff time, 15 minutes, 5 minutes, 1 minute. Public information coordinator, I'm just a single point of contact for staff and the public. I'm just, moving stuff around all the time, just getting that stuff out. Our TLC attorney will review documents that we believe have an exception that applies, something like an anonymous winner. Items like that, we will write to the Attorney General. I will send that information to Deanne, and she will brief the AG's office. And then the Attorney General's office maintains uniformity of application, operation, and interpretation of the act. So they are in charge of this law. So when we receive a request, so again, 2 ways, in mail, by mail or in person. So they can come to our office, drop it off. It has to be in writing. And for information that exists, I have in the past, gone downstairs into our lobby and chatted with these individuals and just take my pad of paper with me. And they would just write it down. It's great. We ask that the date stamps are happening because that starts our 10-day business day deadlines right there. We've asked staff to, I need to get it immediately, as soon as possible, because it doesn't matter if it's sitting on your desk for 3 days. That's 3 business days that we've lost because I don't have it to process. We've gone from, the last time I spoke to you, we've gone from an internal program where we were nearly 100% paper to the GovQA platform, which has been amazing. It's really streamlined us, made communication very easy. The deadlines are all integrated. So we do have the portal for individuals to go to through our website, and they just create an account. It gives them step-by-step what documents you would like, date ranges, do you agree to all exceptions, etc. We ask don't forward requests in your email. If you get somebody who sends you an email and says, I want Elizabeth's personnel file, I ask that you direct them back to our website, to this link, to this portal, and it will come to me. Also, if questions, phone number, I will talk to and help those individuals out getting that process done. So requests we've received by calendar year. As you can see, we've received less requests because of the GovQA system. So prior it was just an email, and now we've really streamlined ourselves where we're doing, about 50, 75 requests a month. So just to wrap it up, the information or the request, excuse me, has to be for information in writing. Request must be for data already in existence. Remember that information is stored in many different forms. We have our legal deadlines to remember and, coordinate with the division, liaison, and myself. And if you have any questions, there's my information, Deanne and Tara Lossman, our legal assistant, she also is involved. So please reach out with any questions. I'm happy to chat. Y'all have any questions now? Yes.
I do. How long do you keep information?
So for open records,
Right.
so open records retention period is 2 years after the date of the close of the request.
No, how long do you keep the information? Say I have a request for information that may be 10 years old.
Okay.
Do you have that information?
So it's really going to depend on the information's retention period. And that is, we have that retention for every kind of document. It's with the Texas State Library, and we rely on the staff to know this, this year is ready for retention. They have, policy and procedures that way. So if you write me a request that I don't have those documents and that have met the retention, I will tell you, we don't have those documents. Those items have met the retention and have been destroyed per our process.
Is there a typical ballpark timeframe? I know.
For retention?
Yes, I think 4 years is the retention for bingo operators to retain their records. Isn't that correct? 4 years.
Yeah, so the bingo rule requires 4 years for all records, which he's referring to as the records retention schedule of the agency, of all state agencies. Every agency has their own one. And there are dozens of categories of different kinds of documents, and they can all have different retention. So like general correspondence emails, we can delete after 30 days. There are some things that we have to keep forever, literally forever. Other things, 4 years, 2 years, you really have to look at the schedule to figure out what particular kind of document you're looking at and then what the retention schedule for the agency is.
Okay.
That document is also publicly available.
Gotcha.
Any additional? Thank you for your time today. Appreciate it. Yes, ma'am.
It looked like one of our members, Corey's got a question.
Yes.
Do you have a question?
I do have a real quick one. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you so much for your presentation. This was very informative. And this is purely out of curiosity, but what's the most frequently requested piece of information? Is it minutes? Is it finances? I mean, and this is just curiosity speaking. I mean, do people most want to look at finances or minutes? I mean, what?
I would say by far the most, the largest topic is going to be scratch ticket information.
Okay. Just
okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much for your presentation. We greatly appreciate that.
Hi, I just thought I'd add just a little bit, just sort of from a practical perspective, on the Public Information Act. Thanks, Paul. It's interesting. Before the pandemic, we received anywhere from probably 1,200 to 1,400 requests a year. You saw the figures down there were about 50 to 60% of that. It's kind of interesting, but that's for an agency our size, that was a lot of information requests. I'm not sure how much of that can be attributed to our new online request system or to the pandemic, but still getting 700 a year is quite a few. We do not get many requests for information about the VAC. And as an advisory committee, you do not have detailed record keeping requirements. As far as your role on this committee is concerned, we have the agendas, the notice of the public meetings. You have the business plan, that has to be approved every August for the following year, and you have the report. the annual report that also gets submitted every August to the commissioners. But the records you keep, the things you write down, whether it's on a notepad or in an email or whatever concerning this committee, and your work on this committee, is all information that is subject to the Public Information Act. Now, if you just use those records, those writings as notes, basically, just sort of transient, information that you use temporarily, and then you're done with it, you don't have any obligation to keep it. You can throw it away. There's no requirement for you to maintain your personal documents that you develop while you're on the VAC. But if we ever got a request for those, we would reach out to you and ask, what do you have? And you can't then decide you're going to destroy them. If you're going to destroy them, I mean, it's fine. But once you get a request, it kind of freezes all that, and whatever is in existence at the time of the request, that's information that you'll need to turn over. And Deanna and Liz will look at that and determine whether any of that information is subject to an exception, because there's a very long list of exceptions that to providing information that's confidential either by law or by statute. So I just thought I wanted you to feel comfortable that you have the freedom to either keep notes or not keep notes, and you don't have an obligation to keep them. But if you do keep them and someone asks for them, we have to turn them over. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Any more questions or conversation about that presentation? We certainly appreciate that. I think that's good that we review that every few years just to keep everybody in the know, since we typically have members come and go over the course of 5 years. So thank you all very much. We appreciate that. All right, moving on to item number 5. Before we do that, if I might just throw this in there. Under new business, we're going to be talking about the sunset stuff that we have coming up with the staff, not too in depth, but we did want to recognize that there are members from the sunset here and we get them under the new business. So just a little premonition there. Item number 5, pre-sale of bingo events. This is just an item for discussion. I know the last BAC meeting, we talked about people pre-selling event tickets for larger events, in accordance with Senate Bill 643 that got passed last session. Does anybody, Melody, do you have anything more on that you want to go over or ask?
I just wanted to distinguish that between a gift certificate and a sale for a particular event. Because the gift certificate has different parameters. You have to keep so much information. And I noticed on the pre-sale here, where did the commission land on pre-selling products before bingo session? I've heard you can pre-sell, you cannot redeem.
Sure. So here's the issue we run into with pre-sales. So 2001 419E says that bingo cards, pull tab tickets, and the use of card money devices for a bingo occasion may be sold at the licensed premise at any time beginning 1 hour before the bingo occasion and ending at the conclusion of the occasion, except that if you have 2 consecutive occasions, you can of course sell product for the second one during the first. So that restricts the selling of bingo products to 1 hour before the occasion for which they're going to be used. So a pre-sale, I was about to call it a door fee, but let's call it a pre-sale. A pre-sale is either an illegal sale of bingo product, or it's a door fee, which is not a bingo product. It's just an admission, it's like a T-shirt or a hot dog or anything else that you guys might sell in the hall. So I think you run into the problem there is it's a door fee can't be treated as bingo proceeds, and a pre-sold bingo ticket is illegal. And, I was considering this, it's interesting that the gift certificate allowance is in the law. The law in 2003 was amended to allow gift certificate sales. And I wasn't there at the time, obviously, but I can only think that part of the reason is that there is this gap in which you can't, before that law was in place, I don't think you could have sold gift certificates because you're arguably selling bingo product outside of an occasion. So I find it's interesting that that law was included in 2003 to expressly allow this kind of selling of a bingo product outside of an occasion. And so I think the gift certificate law, and then we do have a rule, really completely addresses this situation. I understand it's a hassle because the rule has all these requirements about issuing a gift certificate. But gift certificates are allowed under the law. We have rules that are in place, and I think they perfectly address this situation. If you have, LaDonna and I were talking, if you have a big Christmas event you want to have on Christmas Day, sell a gift certificate, and it could expire on Christmas Day, and just tell everyone, that this is redeemable on Christmas Day. The only questionable aspect is it's also probably redeemable anytime before that. So the rule doesn't clearly allow a gift certificate to be restricted to a single day event. It has to have an expiration date. So you have to, when you issue the gift certificate, let's say they buy a gift certificate today for the Christmas event, and it'll say it expires on December 25th. Well, they might decide in December that they can't make it, so they're going to come in on December 10th and redeem it. And that appears to be allowed, but I think we can address that through rulemaking, that there's enough flexibility in the gift certificate area that we can allow gift certificates that are only valid for one day. And I think that it completely addresses this pre-sale issue because it gives you the money. It allows you to foresee how many customers you're going to have before you have this giant event. It addresses what happens to the money. It addresses how it ends up in your bingo bank account, or if it's never redeemed, it goes to the charities directly. So I realize it's not as convenient as just selling a ticket because the gift certificate rule does have a lot of requirements. But I think what is being called a pre-sale is perfectly legal as long as it's done through the gift certificate requirements.
So I had a phone call a few weeks back asking me if there was an operator that asked, can they, instead of offering a cash prize on pull tab, they offer a non-cash merchandise prize, which is a ticket to a further event. And their question was, what do they do with that money? Do they hold on to it in the safe? When you're talking about 100 tickets at $100, and not to put you on the spot, this may take some time to think about and process. I understand that. But I think in general terms, if what they're talking about is selling a pull tab and the $100 winner on the pull tab event, instead of receiving cash, they would receive a ticket for a future event. And then would that operator put that money in the bingo bank account, or would they?
So
you see where I'm going with that?
Again, within the gift certificate rule, a gift certificate may be awarded as a prize. So if you're treating your ticket to this big event as a gift certificate and it's properly issued as a gift certificate, you may award that gift certificate as a prize. The rule does address it. It says that a gift certificate may not be awarded as a prize unless the value of the certificate is paid for by the organization and recorded as a prize on the daily schedule of prizes. So you're going to have to take that money out. And even though you've only handed out the $100 gift certificate, you'd have to list it as a $100 prize on that occasion. But yes, they
listed on that occasion as a $100 prize. You've still got a physical $100 bill.
Well, but you wouldn't, because you've just you've handed out the gift certificate, but you have to mark it down as a $100 prize. Like in your accounting, it'll look like $100 went out, even though $100 didn't. And then when the gift certificate comes back to you or it expires, if it comes back to you, that $100, you can then, you put it in, or I guess not because you never sold it, right? I guess the interesting question, if it expired.
Quite a conundrum, actually, when you.
Yeah.
That's just something that I've been hearing quite a bit, and I think LaDonna and I spoke about this the other day a little bit.
Yeah, this is kind of interesting because the rule on the one side says it can be awarded as a prize, but then on the other it says each bingo certificate shall be paid for by the customer in full at the time it is issued by the organization. So we've got a conflict there. But then it's allowed to be awarded as a door prize. It says you can award it as a door prize if it's paid for before it's awarded. So it's just that the organization is paying for it.
Gotcha.
And maybe that's, so we could interpret E that says each bingo gift certificate shall be paid for by the customer. I mean, in this case, the organization is the customer. You're buying it so that you can give it away. But yeah, the rule does allow awarding these as a prize, but it still it's got to look like a gift certificate.
Right.
It's got to meet all the other requirements of the gift certificate.
Excellent. Any more questions? Okay, moving on to item number 6, fun time. Madonna, I think this is going to be your item, isn't it? The draft rules.
Well, the draft rules were circulated to the committee and the, the rest of the audience members that are usually here. Tyler said that he did not receive any comments. You and I have been talking, no comments. I've talked to some other folks. So I don't know if anything has come up since then. It will be presented to the commission tomorrow for publication in the Texas Register. Of course, there'll be a 30-day comment period, another chance for written comments that we'll address and hopefully have it up for adoption in December.
In the public.
Also in
November 13th, I think.
Thank you, Tyler. November 13th, he thinks.
I'm Steve Bradston. Opportunity to comment. We'll be supporting the publication of the rules for comment tomorrow and at the public hearing, the date of which is
13th, November
13th,
10 a.m. in this room.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comment on the rules package? Just for commenting purposes, I did read the rule package. Didn't see anything either that stood out. But we definitely have an opportunity coming up to voice any concerns we have. Yes, Melody.
I do have just one question, not really concerned by the rules itself, but it says when you are playing a temporary, you have to tell you that we're going to play the temporary, and it says you respond. How do you respond to that?
So there's no requirement. We'll respond to it, and you need to keep that in your records, but you're not required to display anything because you could notify us on a Saturday, and
Correct.
Can't necessarily get back to you.
Okay.
You're going to get a confirmation from the system.
But we do not have to wait for the confirmation before we play. Okay.
It should be automatic.
That's a question because
Get a confirmation.
once we submit it, we don't have to.
Yeah, if I were being extra careful, just make sure you keep a copy of the email so that in the event everything goes crazy, you can show us that I sent you an email 5 minutes before 10 o'clock or,
Well, okay.
Good. Any other comments? I'll make a motion to approve the rulemaking process
Second.
for the commissioner to approve.
I have a question.
Yes, Emil?
If I wanted to suggest a change to these rules, would this be the proper time, or should I wait till we talk about the sale of distributors later down the road? My point is, under definitions section B5, when we change a pull tab ticket, we can change the serial number, the index color, for the trademark without resubmitting the pull tab for approval, I would like to add the ability to change or remove a distributor logo from a pull tab ticket without having to resubmit it for approval.
Okay, Tyler, if you want to go ahead.
So if I may, Emil, the purpose of this current rule package is just to implement the bare minimum requirements of the new legislation. But tomorrow we're also going to open up for rule review, where every 4 years we open up the entire section and we all talk about it and decide what needs to stay or go or add new things. And so I think that's a perfect opportunity for that. But with this package, we're doing this because under the law, we're required to adopt these rules in one case by December 1st and in the other case by January 1st. So the idea here was to avoid any kind of substantive discussion, if you will. Obviously, I mean, there will be public comment and everything, but I only tweaked the rules that absolutely needed to be tweaked to comply with the statutes. But again, we're about to dive into rule review, and so everything's an open book at that point, and I think that's a perfect time to address this kind of concern.
Hey, I got to try.
Yes, sir. Okay. All right, so we have a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Any
Aye.
Any opposed? Right. We have approval. Moving on to item number 7, comptroller audits of units. I think Mr. Bresnan wanted to speak on this. The comptroller, just a brief overview, the comptroller's office started to audit units across the state, and some of the units got kind of jammed up a little bit, but I would like to thank Mr. Bresnan, Mr. Fernolio, Mr. Stewart, and commission staff for stepping in so quickly to get this item fixed and help out the charities in Texas. So, Mr. President.
Thank you. Just by way of background, if those of you are not aware of it, back in 2006, you may recall when Bingo started, the concept of a unit did not exist. So in any given bingo hall, you might have had 7 organizations with 7 payrolls, 7 sets of books, 7 inventories, 7 everything. And so basically through Mr. Fernolio's genius, we requested and got approved by the legislature the creation of units, so you could have 1 set of books pursuant to a trust agreement amongst the organizations at a location. 1 set of books, 1 set of inventories. All of the more efficiencies could be gained by doing that. In 2006, the controller ruled that the units were not responsible for sales tax, except to the extent that a member of the unit was not exempt from sales tax. Not everybody that can get a bingo license is exempt from sales tax. So if you've got all tax exempt organizations in the unit, then there's no sales tax due. And this would be on the transactions between the distributors and the organizations, or in this case, the unit. If 4 of the 5, if there are 5 in an organization and 4 of the 5 are tax exempt and 1's not, then 20% of the sales tax that would have been due had to be paid. Recently, the controller's office, where I did service for 4 years, ruled that, or hired outside auditors, contract auditors. And apparently those contract auditors were not aware of this particular tax ruling. So we started getting notice from some people around the state that they were being audited for sales tax. In one case I'm aware of, somebody that didn't pay attention to the notice got past the time to respond and ended up having to write a $60,000 check. They're probably going to get that money back based on a refund request. But it sent alarm bells throughout charitable bingo. I started hearing from it I reached out to the controller's office, to the chief deputy controller, Lisa Craven. And I just have to say that the controller, Glenn Hager, and the chief deputy, Ms. Craven, responded literally within a day and realized what had happened and resolved that issue literally overnight. The reason that they were able to do that and to spread the word throughout all those who might have been in the noose was because LaDonna and her staff, Vivian in particular of her staff, responded to our request. Not only did she answer my phone call, she immediately tasked Vivian with providing the list of all of the units in the state to the controller's office. You had a great example of interagency cooperation, so the controller's office could not only call down the contract auditor, but the contract auditor and the audit division had all the information they needed to make sure that all of the units that could have been subject to those audits were not. Now, I want to make clear, I want to really emphasize the Controller of Public Accounts is a statewide elected official with lots of responsibilities for hundreds of millions of dollars that go way beyond little old charitable bingo. So for them to jump through a hoop like that and take care of our problem is really worth your praise. And I would encourage everybody to recognize that Controller Glenn Hager and his Chief Deputy Lisa Craven did a fantastic job. It was made possible because of the assistance of the Lottery Commission. And it's also another example of everybody in charitable bingo working together. I represent the bingo interest group, as y'all know, which is a relatively small group of commercial lessors. But they reached out to us, TCA members, bingo interest group members. They reached out to us looking for a solution, and we were able to assist with that solution because we all worked together once again. So it really, if 2023 says anything to people in charitable bingo, it's being the working together, pays off. I want to make one caveat here. Not everybody's going to be out of the noose on the sales tax. If there's a charitable organization that's within a unit that's not exempt under the sales tax statute, then that percentage of what would be the unit's liability for sales tax will still be owed. So there'll be a review, and some people may owe the sales tax, which should be one of our number one items in our legislative program next time, is to make sure everybody's exempt. That said, we had a 90th birthday party for Mr. Don Bishop in Dallas last weekend, and at that event, somebody walked up to me and said that saved us $160,000. That's $160,000 that goes to the bottom line of the charities that were involved there. So it was extraordinarily good work, great coordination, and Controller Hager and his staff should be lauded for having taken care of that in lightning time. Really appreciate it. I'm happy to answer any questions.
No question. Again, Steve, thank you for everything you did. It was just absolutely amazing. But I own a retail store, and if my store does not pay sales tax, I don't chase the customers down the street and ask them for the money. Why did they not go after the distributors and say you didn't collect this sales tax?
Well,
after the end consumer.
Well, the liability is on the end consumer. You could chase that customer down, but the fact is the tax wasn't owed, so the distributor didn't have a duty, to collect it, except from those folks within the unit. And one of the problems the controller's office is recognized when they started talking to some of the units. Some of the people they were talking to didn't know what the 501c status was of each member of the unit. So that's going to filter out there a little bit, but ultimately it's the buyer's responsibility to pay the sales tax So I don't think the distributors can be faulted. Okay, thank y'all.
Thanks, Steve. Right. No other comments on the comptroller audits? Moving on to item number 8, recent sale of distributors. We were made aware a few weeks back of 2 of the largest distributors in the state of Texas being purchased by another group. I've received many calls on this, asking, so now they're all one company, and my understanding is yes, they are. But we're very fortunate to have Ms. Kim Kipling here today, who represents some of those people in some form or fashion. I don't want to speak for you, but we're definitely grateful you're here today, Kim. So if you want to have the floor, it's yours.
Yeah.
Good morning. For the record, my name is Kimberly Kipling. I'm an attorney in Austin, Texas, and I represent All Saints, Texas. And that was the distributor who did purchase the assets of Roy Bingham Supply and then purchased the assets of K&B Sales. In talking with you, Trace, my understanding is the concern that's been expressed is market dominance.
Yes.
And increase in prices. I, as you might imagine, have had conversation with my client about that. I can't represent what the future holds, but I can tell you within the near future, I don't know what that means. There's not any intent to increase prices on the product. I understand also that it's important for them to come and visit with you all. And I'm going to, after this meeting, obviously reinforce that message so that you know that who the employees are, which are, there was an employment offer made to Roy Bingham Supplies employees, and there was an offer made to K&B Sales. And I think if it wasn't 100%, almost 100% have accepted those offers. So what that means on the interface with the charities, you will see the same people. That will not change. Van Myers is the president of All Saints, Texas, and Glenn Goulet is the vice president of All Saints, Texas. And they will be also part of the interface. The manager is Larry Weinstein, and he will talk to him and has no problem coming and visiting with folks. We'll do whatever we need to do to make sure that you all as customers, as the charities, whatever concerns you have are satisfied as we go through these transitions. And I think as time goes on, we'll see that it's, nothing is ever ripple free, right? But it will be about as constant as we can have it. And I'm happy to answer any questions that I can. But I appreciate you putting this on the agenda. We don't have anything to hide. We're happy to be as transparent as we can.
Well, we certainly appreciate that. And what you brought up was market dominance,
yes.
And that has been the major concern that I've heard from the industry. And so I took the liberty just to look at some numbers, and these are unvetted numbers. Okay, so they're not official, but as we all know in bingo, there's basically 3 major distributors in the state, and that was Roy Bingo, K&B Sales, and More Supply, with K&B being the leading distributor, and then Roy Bingo, and then More Bingo Supply. But just doing some rough math, those 3 distributors have an 85.9% market share of the grand total in the market, which is a lot. And with K&B, and the breakdown on that was K&B having 42.1%, Roy Bingo having 27.4%, and Moore having 16.34%. So you're looking at roughly between Roy and K&B about 70% of the market. That's, you know, a lot of people are concerned about that, obviously, but we definitely look forward to meeting with them, visiting with them, talking with them, and making sure that there's proper competition in the marketplace. I know when there's more competition, there's better prices for the charities, and although the distributors, you know, had a grand total sales of $148 million over a couple of years there. It's we need to remember that the charities are the reason that we're here, and that's who we listen to. But we're looking forward to talking with them, and we appreciate you. I thank you very much. You've definitely taken a lot of stress off of me. I can now refer people to the meeting minutes and say, no, it's all in the meeting minutes. You don't have to call me anymore.
And I'm happy to take calls.
Awesome. Thank you.
We're open to receiving feedback and comments and concerns. And I'll emphasize that meeting, I think personal in-person meetings with the customers are fairly critical. Glenn Goulet and Van Myers are here. And I think what they told me is they see it as business as usual.
Awesome.
They see it as what?
As usual.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Kim? Joe? Kim, we appreciate you very much. We really do. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I appreciate Kim too, always have. But my concern with the distributor situation now is that about 6 months ago, we sent an email to, I had my manager do it, send an email to every distributor listed on the Lottery Commission website and asking for prices on their video and prices on pull tab. No one responded.
No distributor?
No, except for, and I did not use my name because I know they wouldn't respond if I used my name.
Oh,
well, good time, would respond and say, why are you calling anybody else? So, no, but the little guy out of Austin, Syntex, Tommy's the only one that responded. He has like, very, very few employees. He would not even be able to service halls as big as mine. But that was a very frustrating thing. And because we have to buy from these people. And I say, how much is your pound of flour? Well, that depends. And then he pays a different price and she pays a different price and she pays a different price. So it is very frustrating. If we could even get a price list from somebody, how much are the pull tabs? I brought that price list here. I don't know if you remember about a year ago showing the price. It has gone up between 35 to 70% on our paper and our pull tabs. And dollars have gone outside. So it's, easy, raise your prices. It's not that easy to raise your prices when you have somebody down the street selling it for $5.
That's what you told me.
Yeah, just it. So anyway, it is interesting that I did send an email out asking for a price list and no distributor, not one. And that's back when it was Warren and all them and Good Time and still one.
What year was that again?
6 months ago.
6 months ago. I thought, okay.
Yeah, this year.
Yeah, and Kim, you may not be aware of that or anything because you don't deal with that end of the operations, but typically in the bingo industry, if you call a distributor and say, hey, how much is your pound of flour, if you will, you will, they break it down by many different ways as you would as a business. But it depends on if you, phrase this, it's
who you are, your usage.
Yeah, your usage, who you are, your usage. There's a lot of factors in there that might not should be in there. You can't request a price list from somebody, I think is what she's saying.
Right.
And get a price list. None of the prices are published, anywhere. So it's not like Walmart, if you will. You can't look on their website and see how much a box of tabs is. So it's very difficult for charities to plan ahead. When a price increase from one distributor happens, they can't go to another one and go, look, we should go here or we should go there. It's overcomplicated and cumbersome for the charities to maximize their dollars by searching competitive distributors.
You cannot price compare.
Yeah,
Basically, and I feel bad for the small halls.
Right.
Because I have so many I can do, I can get better prices. I've seen myself get better prices than other people get just because I buy more. And I understand that. And that's the way it is anyway. But it is very, very hard to price compare.
And not that you're a distributor, but we hope you'll relay those messages.
Right.
I definitely will. I'm taking notes. And I think in the meetings that we can get scheduled, I think that should be on the meeting agenda for each of the charities or whoever wants to meet.
Yeah, excellent.
I don't know what the outcome will be, but I think it needs to be discussed.
Gotcha.
And I only represent all saints.
Understood.
The other ones, I don't know.
Understood completely. But we thank you very much.
But anytime.
Really shed a lot of light on it. All right, any other comments?
Yes, I have one.
All right, moving on. Oh, wait, Steve Breslin.
I have one.
Emil?
I defer to Emil.
Emil,
Yes,
go ahead.
yes. I would like to ask LaDonna if we could get special dispensation to be able to remove or change the distributor logo on a ticket without resubmitting it for approval.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the same as she brought up earlier. I'm not sure.
Can you repeat the question?
Wants to know if you can remove the distributor logo on a pull tab without having to resubmit it.
Or
if you
change
could just take it.
Or change it.
Or change it. Yeah, so like can a new distributor sell old distributor's product that they bought? And I think under the current rule that would change the artwork. Mm-hmm. So it needs to be resubmitted. So that's according to the letter of the law currently. But again, we're about to go through rule review, and I don't see why we couldn't, change that rule to allow somebody that bought previously approved product to sell that product under their new name, provided there was some kind of, on the outside, some kind of label explaining this is not indeed from, Good Time Games anymore. This is now from somebody else, something like that. But currently, as far as I know, it's not allowed.
So I guess my question would be, could All Saints Texas sell Roy Bingo logo tickets?
On the pull tabs, I get it.
Right.
I will tell you this, Emil, as part of the process of the notification, we filed the appropriate forms on the bingo equipment, bingo product. So that product is being traced or being tracked from when All Saints purchased the assets of Roy Bingo and purchased the assets of KMB Sales.
Sure.
So all that information the Lottery Commission has, and they can track it. And that may, in the interim, address the issue that you're raising on tracking the inventory.
With the exception of the trademark.
And then
I'm just trying to keep us clean.
Yeah, no, I get it.
So,
in terms of the rule review, I would just as a member, as an attorney that's been working in this industry, I think that's a good topic to consider during the rule review. But I understand where you're coming from as a manufacturer that's a supplier to All Saints, Texas.
So this is Tyler Vance. I'm looking at a rule 402-300 B5. And it says, referring to the approval of pull tab, it says if the pull tab, if a previously approved pull tab ticket is modified in any way, with the exception of the serial number, index color, or trademarks, then it must be resubmitted. So So I think what you're talking about is a trademark, right? You're talking about the trademark of the prior distributor or manufacturer, in which case the pull tab does not need to be resubmitted. That's
I would love for your office to interpret trademarks as being the same as the logos from the distributor. That would make my day.
So, and also just more information. There are, All Saints, Texas is doing business, and this has been registered with the Secretary of State under Roy Bingo Supplies and also under Good Time Action. I don't have the exact mark. Okay. Yeah, I bet you do. I bet you do. So does that satisfy the?
Well, if the division, if Charitable Gaming Division is going to interpret trademarks as being the same thing as the distributor trademark or logo, I'm fine with that interpretation.
Okay.
I think, I don't think we want to say absolutely right now, but it looks that way. And I think we'll look at it in the near future.
Is this, Tyler,
And
if
if you could give me something in writing, that'd be great.
Good, you submitted.
Yeah, you could request a bingo advisory opinion asking the commission's position on the meaning of trademark in that rule and whether or not it encompasses exactly what it is you're looking to exempt.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Appreciate it. So, Emil, if you would like, we can put this on the agenda for the next meeting. That way maybe everybody could do some research, unless you want to do it through the bingo advisory
Yes.
request.
Yes.
That'd be better.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. You good with that, Emil?
I'm good with that. I'll make that request.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Steve President.
Thank you, Steve Bresden, on behalf of the Bingo Interest Group. I just want to, we've all been getting along really well in this industry, as I said earlier, and it's paid off. But I have to say, just at a personal level, I am a lawyer. I have no background, particularly in antitrust law or anything, but the numbers scream out to me that we will now have one distributor with in excess of 70% of the sales, at least according to the numbers that were compiled for calendar year 2021, 23, and 22 and the first 2 quarters of this year. It's really significant. I want to underline what Trace said in the tab market. The 3 largest distributors had 94.8% of that market. 18% was more. So the other 2 had 76, 77% of that market. It's a concern to me. I don't know what the law is in this area, and I don't want to be inflammatory, so I'm going to shut up. But I do think that this is something that bears watching. I doubt seriously that the commission has the authority to intercede should intercession be required. Anyway, that's all I'll say today, other than to underline my concern. In particular, I'll have to talk to my clients and see if they share that concern or not. Thank y'all for bringing it up, putting it on the agenda. Thanks.
Thank you.
You bet.
Any other comments on the sale of distributors? Okay. I'm going to go into old business real quick. Just briefly mention that we are losing one of our esteemed colleagues in December, and we're very saddened by this, but Emil will be finishing up in December per his request. But we are working with the staff to reopen the application process for Emil's replacement. So LaDonna, you want to briefly, do you have anything to add about that?
We're putting together the paperwork. I hope to get the email blast out and the link to the nomination form, I think in about 10 days. 2 weeks. It'll be open for 3 weeks like they've been. So that'll close up sometime before Thanksgiving.
And Emil, I know you had mentioned in one of the past meetings that you were considering trying to find someone as your replacement that you would recommend. And so we certainly look forward to that.
I'll keep trying.
Well, you've given them such big shoes to fill. That's what the problem is.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Mr. President.
I hate to keep popping up. I didn't realize this was going to be part of the agenda. Bill, I want to thank you personally for the expertise that you've shared unselfishly for probably the 25 years that I've known you. You're always full of good advice, sage counsel, expertise, and you give the whole story. And when you're asked about something, instead of just the story from your side of it or your company's side of it. Really appreciate your service. Appreciate the way you've treated me all these years. And this is a big loss. And hope you'll enjoy whatever you're doing in your retirement. Godspeed.
Thank you, Steve, and the other Steve as well.
Mr. Finelli.
Stephen Finolio for the record. I'm an attorney here in Austin. And Neil, I echo what my colleague President said. And if I may, under old business, address a comment Tyler had about the gift certificate rule. If I may.
Yes, sir.
That was passed in the statute because the bingo division took the position you couldn't issue a gift certificate. So we passed that in the statute as it's in 2001.4155. And at the time, and I know Melody remembers this, staff insisted on subparagraph B, which says you have to follow the rules. And then we go to the rules, and the rules are very cumbersome, to say the least, represent retailers on occasion, and they issue gift certificates, and they don't have any of those. We understood somewhat why the agency wanted some of those to protect against theft, but it is extremely cumbersome to do. And I told, after they were drafted, staff, well, there are not going to be many people who are going to use that gift certificate. The vision we had at that point, and this came from others, Melody and Littlefield Corporation, which had halls. Melody has several in the Metroplex. Littlefield had them all over the state. And the thought was some of their customers go from Amarillo to Lubbock to Central Texas, Austin. And you could issue the gift certificate in Lubbock and it could be redeemed in Amarillo, Austin. But you can't do that, which is not unlike any other gift certificate that you purchase from a retailer. Target, for example, if you buy a gift certificate in Target in Lubbock, it can be redeemed in Maine. So maybe it's an issue the EAC looks at going forward in the rule review. Be happy to answer any questions.
And Steve, I totally agree. This was made to help the charities. And I said that the BAC is here to try to streamline things, to make it easier for people to make money for their charities. And at this point, with the prices of all the utilities going up, all the tabs going up, all the video going up, we need, and now the prices are going way up. This is going to become very, very vital to actually the livelihood of bingo to fix this, Steve, like we tried to do in the beginning. Who was that that got it? I don't remember, but
Atkins.
Yeah, Billy. We just need to make it easier for the charities, make it better, not harder.
Excellent. We'll try to get that on the agenda for the next meeting during the Any other old business? If not, we'll go on to the next item, new business, and we will talk about sunset review. We are currently going through the sunset review, and we have some people from the sunset committee here today. We would like to thank y'all for attending. We appreciate that. It's always nice for people to come by and take a look and actually see what we do rather than just look at what we do on paper. So we greatly appreciate that here at the Bingo Advisory Committee meeting. Is there anybody, would y'all like to speak, or do you need the floor for a minute, or?
Just Eddie McConnell, I'm the project manager of Sunset. Throughout the monthly review, which lasts here basically through April, we're open for comment from stakeholders, public comment. My information is on the Sunset website. Grab me after the meeting, I'll give you a card. More than welcome to talk to anybody. We appreciate everybody's input. What we look at is the agency still necessary? In this case, we're looking at the Lottery Commission and then at Bingo. Is the agency still necessary? Is what they do efficient, effective, fair, and transparent? And if not, are there things the legislature could do to help improve it, to fix statutes and such to make it roll better? Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Madonna, would y'all like to add anything?
Just to bring you up to date, you'll hear a little bit more about it at tomorrow's commission meeting from Ryan Mendel. But the agency submitted the self-evaluation in late August. It is on the website. There is a link to the sunset review. There will be a banner on the lottery's website and also on the charitable bingo website. It'll include a link that'll also allow you to submit comments. Of course, I think I told you all before that all 9 of the BAC members are listed on the stakeholder list that is part of that self-evaluation report. We have started our meetings with the Sunset staff members, so Sunset Review is here. That's it.
Thank you very much. Any other public comment about Sunset Review? Mr. President?
Thank you, Preston. On behalf of the Bingo Interest Group, I was around before the Sunset Commission was created, and it was done so as a serious matter of government reform. So government doesn't just keep percolating along year after year after year, operating in the same old way without being reviewed, questioned, analyzed, and re-upped. So it's very, very important process. I have participated in the review of countless number of agencies over the decades. It is a serious process. It's not out to get anybody. My experience is it doesn't start out with an agenda to whack somebody or to take an agency apart. It has uniformly had the best staff with the best intentions over time. They have a new executive director, Eric Beverly, with whom I'm familiar and have the highest regard. All of that said, if you're contacted by them, I would encourage you to participate. Be constructive. If there's a concern, by all means, cite your concerns, but be constructive. If you have a solution for those concerns, you should recommend it. Also, realize that there's a statute out there. We've worked diligently now over multiple sessions for a long, long time to improve that statute, to streamline the regulation, get rid of stuff that made no sense. Agency, the Lottery Commission, has worked in an excellent manner with us in that regard. And so we've made substantial progress over the last few legislative sessions. But if there are changes that need to be made in the statute, it's not really up to the commission, the Lottery Commission, to be advocating for those things. So I would encourage you to think about what is there in the statute that needs to be affected. This rule review gives us yet another opportunity to look at the rules. If the rules are not in sync with the statute, or you want the statute to say something different so the rules will change, by all means communicate it to the Sunset Commission staff when they come around. I've had really good experience. If the staff comes in blind, they damn sure don't know anything about charitable bingo. I could just bet you, unless they've been at B12 or something down on Ben White down here playing bingo, and I haven't. But and it's an unusual animal. Every agency's got its own ins and outs for that particular industry. But charitable bingo is really kind of outside the mindset of most people. So take the opportunity to educate, explain what we're doing, why we're doing it. I would extend an invitation to the staff to come and attend a bingo occasion. We'll set that up for you. Y'all have, I sent you an email a moment ago. Y'all can, if you'll contact me, we'll set you up here or anywhere around the state to see what people are doing and ask questions of why are they doing it that way. Bingo is ultimately is to benefit charities, but it is a commercial activity that results in a benefit to charities. So there may be things about it that are unusual to the a new observer of it. So that said, I just want to encourage it. This is a great process. It can lead to great results, but it won't if you don't participate. So I highly encourage it. Thanks.
I just have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
How, with the sunset, people in the sunset get hold of us? Would it be through email? Is that,
They have all the contact information.
a phone?
They put a tracker on the phone.
I understand. You and my daughter. Yeah.
Generally.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank y'all. And if y'all have any questions as things go on about that process, I'll be happy to help. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Any other comments?
Okay. One more comment.
Yes, ma'am.
About the rules. How are you going to, are you going to have committee meetings to do this or?
Yeah, so tomorrow is proposing the rule review. It's going to be open, anticipate almost a year or until probably the summer. And so anytime between now and then, I don't know if you recall, a couple of years ago, we went through it and the BAC got together. We had several meetings, big, long, very long meetings.
I was there.
Where the whole thing's an open book. So anything you guys see in there that you would like changed, you're free to discuss it and then recommend it to the commission. And then at the end of rule review, that's when we propose anything or nothing. If everyone decides everything's great, then we just close rule review without any changes, or we then propose any changes that come out of the rule review process.
Are you planning any meetings that we would know of ahead of time to?
So that's up for you guys. You guys can call a meeting whenever you would like. We've got our usual regular schedule ones before every commission meeting. Those are available. As we get towards the end of the process, maybe we'll want to have extra special ones like we did last time to really hammer down on things.
And we do look forward to doing that with y'all. That was the last rule review we had was a whole lot better than we had had it previously. So definitely kudos to y'all for the way y'all did that last time. So, Stacey, do you have a comment?
No, not right now.
All right. Okay. All right. Moving on. If there's no other new business, we'll move on to item number 11. Set the date for the next meeting, and I think we already have that as December the 12th. Is that correct?
Yes.
December the 12th will be the next BAC meeting at 10 a.m. right here. Yes, it is a Tuesday. And then the commission meeting will be on the 14th. Have a split meeting that time.
We had it at the 12th. So is the BAC going to be on the 5th?
BAC meeting will be on the 12th.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions on the meeting date? No? All right. We will officially adjourn the meeting at 10:31.
Maybe 11:31.
Or
31.
That's bad. Fun.
oh yeah. Okay. Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.